and gentlemen, change of venue today. I wanted to meet with Hillary and she had to get in here early because she's got places to be. And I was in New Braunfels, so I had to stop by my mom's house. So enjoy the lovely Southwestern decor. She was for those of y'all that actually know a lot about Southwest decor, those are actually Gallagher Indians behind me, which is a big deal. Look it up. I'm not going to get into all that stuff. And so is that one above the door. So she's got one from all three generations of Gallaghers, and I don't know. I'll get my mom on here. She'll explain all that. But yes, my mother loves the Southwest, Albuquerque, and all that stuff. So, but I got Hillary here today, and so last time we got to do a Zoom meeting, we had Hillary's husband, Marco, and like I was telling you last time, I knew Marco from my days of helping out Eric with Alamo Home Stores. Saw him doing a lot of wholesaling, saw all the stuff he was doing in the hustle. And if you have not watched that, please go back to the YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, guys, because it's great information about learning how people get involved, how they got started. It's a great story because like a lot of us, he had a lot of pain at the beginning, but now it's really starting to pay off. And I'm hoping Hillary will let me talk about her most recent assignment that's going to make probably her 2 years worth of income for her. So, which is really, really cool. But I wanted to talk to Hillary because if I tell you a story, my wife is going to want to come in right behind me and tell the truth of the story. So that's why I wanted to talk to Hillary. Plus, Hillary actually approaches their business a little bit differently. So I kind of wanted to go through that. So Hillary, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you for asking me to do it.
I know, and I will keep it brief because I know you've got somewhere to be, or until we get all our answers, or until I see you start wandering off. So tell us how you gotten started in this and how Marco talked you into getting started into doing real estate, because I know for a stint you worked at Medtronic. Is that correct?
I did. And that's how I know your mother-in-law.
Yep.
Which is so weird, and what a little small world it is.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And I would have like lunch with her all the time. So when I met Marco, he was already in the real estate world. And I remember when I'd start spending the night and I'd have to get up to go to work the next day. I'd have to get up super early, and then he'd be all cozy in bed, like not moving, just on his phone, kind of like sending text messages and stuff. And I'm like, what do you do? Because he didn't have like a normal job. He just was a wholesaler. And that was back in the day where wholesalers were just few and far between. He was actually one of the top wholesalers here in San Antonio. And I thought it was illegal. I was like, well, it doesn't sound what you're doing is quite in line with the law. But he assured me that it was totally a legal thing to do. And he was constantly wholesaling at the time to a specific company where they asked him to join as acquisition manager. So that was at the very beginning of our relationship. He was a licensed realtor for probably a decade. It's been a while. But his main clientele were just investors. So like in the previous video, he mentioned he started at Lifestyles Unlimited. And he was there all the time that they asked him to get his license. And so he got his and just was very active in that community with the investors there. So that's how he really learned how to evaluate investment deals, was just by finding properties specifically for investors. And so when I met him, I had a project management job. I was no longer at Medtronic at that point. And I was just basically, what I did was I worked for a small software company that did electronic health records for mom and pop businesses or hospitals looking to take their paper files into the cloud and like get organized. And I was the project manager. So I scheduled all their trainings with the trainers. I worked with development and interface teams to make sure their systems were crossing over correctly, and basically took them from the very beginning of the process to the go live date, which actually, funny enough, works really well as an agent or a broker now, because that's the whole thing, is you take them from the very beginning, from your like first conversation with your client all the way to the closing table. So it's pretty much the same skill set, just in a different career path. So when I met Marco, I actually quit my job on the whim.
Yeah, I had to know that. Like, I hate to interrupt, but like, okay, so what I know of you, Hillary, and like I've known you for years now, you're very detail oriented. Like I said, this process is that, systems, getting all this stuff done. And now you're asking Marco, is what you're doing legal? And yeah, somewhere in there, he talked you into quitting your job. Like, how did we?
Well, so actually what happened was I had just been unhappy. Like, I was really good at what I did, and I but I was very stressed out. I did not like working with doctors. They all have like the God complex. They were not the nicest people on the planet. And it was just very difficult working with those extreme personalities. And so I had asked Marco, this was like right around, so he proposed on my 30th birthday. That was July 1st of 2015, I think.
Everybody
So
write that down.
he proposed on my birthday, which I wasn't expecting. And then we got married 3 months later in September. And in that time frame, I had decided to quit my job, and he 100% backed me. But I was, I was scared. Like, I'm going from a salary paid job to no income. And he had at the time was working for ATW as the acquisition manager, was making commission. So I was like, how are we supposed to like financially keep ourselves going? Plus at the time too, we got pregnant on our wedding night. So there was just all these changes happening. I quit my job. I found out I was pregnant. We got married. And then on our honeymoon, which was a month later, right after I found out I was pregnant, he decided to quit his job with ATW. And we were going to do this 100% full time starting January 1st of 2016. So it's crazy because we're about to be in 2022, starting, in a couple months. And that's going to be the start of our 7th full year of being 100% full time on our own stuff, like no employees. And it's crazy how to look back on that time and see just like how far we've come. But
that's really intense. And my wife, the same thing. It is kind of funny how close, because like my answer to my wife is like, I'm quitting my job. She's like, what? Interest? She's just freaking out. And she was working for me at the time, so she freaked out so bad she went and got a job. And I kept telling her, I was like, don't go get a job. I got this. You know what I mean? And she just the insurance, the golden cuffs of the insurance, really got her.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because my response has always been like, I've been poor before. I can be poor again. It doesn't bother me one bit. It's like, I actually kind of like ramen. I'll be fine. But, so, I mean, so basically what you're telling me, it was a big leap of faith. I mean, you've got a new husband, a baby on the way, and you're just like, you know what, let's go for broke.
Yeah, it was really on our honeymoon. So that was when I had already quit my job. We found out I was pregnant like 3 days before our honeymoon, because we took our honeymoon a month.
So you weren't drinking on the honeymoon. So
no,
you didn't take you somewhere, fill you up with tequila, and then go, guess what we're doing?
We went to the Bahamas and it was all inclusive. And I find out 2 days before we leave, like, I can't drink, I'm pregnant. And I was like, well, damn, this sucks. But it was still exciting. We were excited about the baby. And I remember we were sitting at the pool and Marco was reading The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And he put his book, I'll never forget this. He put his book down and looked at me and just said, I should quit ATW, because if we're going to invest, we need to do it now. The longer we take to have a full-time job and we put off the investing, we will never get there. And I was really scared like Amelia, but I was also super excited because at the time, Marco and I were working so many hours a week that we barely had time for each other. By the time he came home, it was like a quick meal, a quick workout, walk the dog, go to bed. And even our weekends would sometimes be taken over with his stuff because they had to be constantly working. So I was very excited, but very scared. And I think that leap of faith, I put a lot of trust into him because, again, at that time, I had no idea about real estate at all. So I looked at him and I said, I'm committed to doing whatever I have to do to learn. And we did a lot of seminars before the baby came. So from January till about June when she came, we did a lot of like seminars together. I read a ton of books. I started my real estate license classes. When I got my license, he dropped his because it didn't make sense for us to both have our license with fees when it's like we're pretty much competing for leads anyway. He just gave all the leads to me and I just closed all the deals. So kind of we just had like a really good everything he didn't want to do, I was really good at. And I'm like you said, I'm very organized. So I kind of kept both of us organized. And the skills that he have, I'm not good at, like the negotiation. I mean, I can negotiate for my clients, but when it comes to our own personal deals, I leave that to him because he's very skilled at really negotiating prices on the investment properties. So we kind of just make like a good blend of team together.
Yeah. And that's exactly what, so I think, my wife's working on her master's in project management. That's what she does for work now, is she's a project manager. And I need her like in my life bad. And I keep telling her to quit her job, and she's just, we're almost there. She'll be working with me again here pretty soon. So y'all started off primarily wholesaling, correct? I mean, according to Marcos.
We did. We started with wholesaling. So we, at the very beginning, we created Hilco, which if none of you guys, some people get it, some people don't, but Hilco is a combination of Hillary and Marco. It's Hillary, Marco. Marco came up
Yeah,
with it.
Brangelina. I get,
Yeah, Marco came
celebrity
up with
couples.
it. And we were like, we know we have to make money because we had none. We have this baby on the way. Our first priority is to bring money in to pay our bills so we don't go homeless. So we started wholesaling basically right away. Marco would find the deal, negotiate the deal, and I would take the deal and go to do all the title stuff. So I open title, make sure we have all the documentation. For me, it was literally learning on the go. I had no idea what I was doing. And he's like, well, ask title a bunch of questions and they'll help. So um, that's kind of how we tag teamed it. We did a lot of driving for dollars. We recreated our own lists. For us at the time, it was, do we have more time or do we have more money? And at back 7 years ago, we had no money, but we had a lot of time because we didn't have any kids. So we spent a lot of our time driving, making our own lists. He would drive, I would type it into the computer. And then later that night, we would divide and conquer. We would both get on the Google Drive Excel sheet and he'd start at the top, I'd start at the bottom. We would start plugging in who the owner was, looking on VCAD, finding owner addresses. And then we would print like 1,000 or 2,000 letters from FedEx. And then we would hand sign all of them, hand stuff them into the envelopes, and then hand address all of the envelopes to mail out. And it was super tedious. We don't even do that anymore. We don't even drive for dollars anymore. We've kind of, now that we have 2 kids and like no time, we'd rather spend money to just buy lists and kind of customize them from there.
Yeah.
But we primarily wholesaled. And I remember our first wholesale transaction was like a super nice house in Helotes. Like I wanted to buy it and flip it and honestly even live in it, but like we just weren't at that point to be able to buy a house. So we just wholesaled it for $5,000. Like we probably could have gotten way more now at this point, but we were like, we'll take it. We'll take whatever we can get, because at that point we were just like trying to make ends meet. And yeah, it was
$5,000 went a long way.
It was rough for a long time. I was thinking about how we both have 3 credit cards each, because when back a couple years ago, we were working on building our credit. We've always had really good credit, but we know there are ways to maximize and get even better credit. And one of the things we learned was getting top tier 1 credit cards and like having consistent payoffs on them. So we got credit cards, but there was a point where we like literally until this year, I think, until we've like maxed them out. Like we had to live off of our credit cards, which racks up interest payments, but like we had to make ends meet. Like this was probably the first year where things have started kind of flowing for us a little bit more. We've like finally paid them all off, which feels really good. But I don't recommend it, but you do.
Yeah, I mean, but I love the story, that you're going through that. But I do want to back up with one thing that you said that I think it's really important that we highlight is especially at the beginning. And this doesn't matter, I'm sure you'll agree with me, if you're wholesaling, if you're doing residential, traditional agency stuff. But she said that she would, get it in the contract, get it to title, and ask title for help. I mean, you don't need to know everything that you're going through this stuff. And I think that most people, when they get started with investing or anything else, they get in this analysis paralysis phase where they are just stuck on doing anything. And it's like, hey, just sign this piece of paper. I'll get the rest of it figured out. So yeah, I just wanted to really underscore that because I thought that was really a really good thing. And then one of the other things that during that you kind of glazed over just a little bit, but I really wanted to say is that Hillary is super, I'm going to say it, OCD. Like she really wants to make sure her ducks in a row. And I know for a fact, Hillary's probably going to be the last person to be in trouble with anything either, because she has missed disclosure. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say 95% of all of White Line's wholesaling documents, things that we've gone through, the procedures and all that stuff have come from you and Marco and at Hilco. And I can't thank y'all enough, because I knew you'd done the work and the legwork, and I knew that it was going to be as beautiful as possible. So guys, wholesaling is kind of the first base of real estate investing. That's kind of where everybody starts, because it's a hustle game, and you can start there, move your way up. But guys, if you do it and you've got your license, you got to be very, very careful with it. So make sure you watch the previous videos on all that stuff. So now we're going to fast forward. So we've heard that you've built and all this stuff, and now I know y'all actually buy and hold a lot of properties. But I was talking to Marco yesterday or the day before, whatever it was, and he says that y'all have a very limited timeline on how long you'll hold a property. Mm-hmm. So a couple of things. I'm just curious, when did y'all make that shift from wholesaling into holding? And why do y'all choose to hold them for certain amount periods of time?
So we made the shift. So the plan was always to invest, but we started with the wholesaling just to make the money, some quick money just to pay bills. But if we it really shifted when Marco's mindset shifted, because asking for, so we buy everything 100% with private money. We've never used hard money. We've never used our own banks or anything. We've never put a percentage down for a down payment, nothing. We've literally spent like $0 of our own money. The only time we've ever come out of pocket is if like we've underestimated the rehab, or some crazy thing happened where like we did foundation and now the roof shifted and we weren't anticipating that. So we might have come out a couple thousand on that, you know. But the mindset shifted for him. Honestly, when we were on our honeymoon, he was like, it's now or never. And he basically went back to all of the old investors he used to be an agent for back at Lifestyles, because they're all in their like 60s, 70s now. And he basically just had the conversation of like, if I found the right deal, he didn't just say, can I have your money? I mean, that would be the easiest straight cut, you know, question. But he'll frame it in a way of like, if I found the right deal and the numbers worked for you, would you consider lending and being our private money lender on the property or on the deal? So he found his first person, which was like an old client of his. And this guy is like our repeat investor. He's been with us for the full 7 years. And, you know, it's just crazy how when your mindset shifts a little bit, thinking like, he was always scared to ask for it. He was always like, I'm not doing it. It took him years, like 7 years, to get to the point of like figuring out how to ask for the money. Now it's like we have people asking to partner with us. We don't even have to ask for it. They just say, hey, I know you do this, how much money will you take? And I'm like, I'll take anything. Like, how much do you have? So really,
Yeah, the rumors, the legends spread, right? And if they find somebody that they know will do right, because that's starting to happen to me, where people are starting to call, and you're like, oh yeah, well, I heard you borrowed this money from this guy and paid him back in this amount of time, and you got, it's like, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
the hardest one's always the first one, and after that, it starts to get a little bit easier. And now, like, I mean, I used to leave him to do all of the money raising, but I actually have brought in quite a bit of funds myself personally, just having lunches. And I mean, it's honestly a tag team. Like he knows some people, or they'll reach out to him, and then I also bring in my own fair share of private money, and we do it together. And we'll usually each do it individually, and then we come together and have like a lunch with the person, just to like another meeting, just to like kind of reiterate what we've already said, go into more of the details on like actually how to put it together. So it's we honestly do both. And I know some of y'all know we used to have a big wholesale team right before the pandemic of like maybe 15 acquisitions and dispo people, and we had a VA, a virtual assistant. But when the pandemic hit, like we were prepared and okay with letting our entire team go, and we literally let them all go. And we let our office go and everything. But it's funny enough, we're actually doing a lot better. I think a lot of our energy every day was spent motivating people who should be self-motivated. That's part of being an agent, is like you have to be self-motivated. And
Oh my God, say that again. Like, is there a sign?
Like, well, it was very draining. And I remember when the pandemic first hit and there was that initial 2 weeks lock-in, and Marco was, at the time, he was still in his mindset of like, let's build this giant thing, this giant wholesale operation. And I had to like kind of sit back. We had a long conversation till like the middle of the morning. And I was like, this was not our goal. Our goal, straight up from number one, from the first day, was to have a portfolio. And we've sidetracked with this wholesale thing, which is going to, keep in mind, like being a wholesaler is great. You can make some great money, but like it's a job. It's always going to be a job. Like you have to find the deal, close the deal, find the deal, close the deal, just like being an agent, find the deal, close the deal. I'm not knocking it. It's a great way to make money, and we still wholesale. I'll wholesale till the day we die, but like, it's just a job. And I told him, I said, we need to step back and say, what was our original goal 6 years or 5 years ago? That was to be investors, which we've always had properties since we started, but like really focusing on the wholesale side was really taking away from our overall goal, which was the investments. So we were okay with letting the team go. And funny enough, I felt we're honestly doing a lot better without everybody, because all that energy and time spent on a team I actually just I let my entire team go for Home Sweet San Antonio group recently. And it's just like the mind shift of like the energy spent probably in the wrong places frees you up to do the things you were supposed to be doing all along. So
Yeah. And I didn't want to interrupt you earlier, but you used the exact same sentence that Marco did. And the reason why I'm not at home, or I'd show you, because on my home computer, I have it taped on my computer. With the same thing, if I found the right deal and the numbers made sense to you, would you be interested in investing in it?
yeah.
And I just thought that was such an easy question because it's not so direct and it's not all that stuff. So I thought that was great. So guys, if this is your first one, if you didn't hear Marco, write that down. Number two is I thought it was also kind of brilliant that it was just networking. It wasn't like you went banging on people's doors asking them. It was everybody that you already knew. And you'd be surprised the people that you meet through this business that are doing this. And I know I help on my agency side, I help a lot of investors buy properties. And because I know how to analyze them, because I know what I'm looking for, it's usually a lot what they're looking for. So it's a great way to do the networking. And plus I just love, I love the fact at how well y'all do communicate and go through these things and actually think through what we're trying to get and where we're trying to go to. So, and it's just a beautiful thing because, it takes time. It takes time to sit and plan and get your systems and processes. And I feel like God has been just smacking me over the head lately about how poor my systems and processes are right now. Yeah. And so I'm actually hiring right now to get my systems and processes in. I've got a bunch of resumes that I got to dig through to get that done because I know that's where I'm lacking, and I just don't have time to really do it, and I can't get my wife to quit her job. So, so y'all got into where you're holding your portfolio. Just quick and in a quick turn, why do you choose to only hold for so long? Why is that y'all's exit strategy? Because I know y'all hold for a handful of years, and you get it income producing, you get the numbers looking good, and then y'all tend to dump it, and then I guess just go buy bigger. That's kind of what I've been seeing y'all do from me just sticking around and stalking you.
So we originally weren't sure how long we were going to hold things, but right now with all of our private money lenders, we give them this is our one non-negotiable, by the way. We can negotiate like percentage interest, we can negotiate like anything. But one thing Marco and I will not negotiate at all, and if you don't like it, you don't get to lend to us, I will not take your money, is the balloon. Our balloon payment is 5 years because real estate's always going to be risky, right? Like there's always risk in real estate. But if you do it the right way, you really minimize your risk. And so for us, the non-negotiable is the 5-year balloon. And that's because in the circumstance that there's a downturn, now there isn't one right now, but there will be. It could be 6 months from now, it could be 2 years from now, but there will be a downturn. There will be another market crash because everything in life is cyclical. And what goes up has to come down at some point. So we always prepare ourselves, and we're prepared to play the long-term game of like slow growth versus like flip a bunch. I mean, flipping's good. You can make a lot of money, but again, flipping's like another job. That's not really treadmill, yeah. It's another job like wholesaling or being an agent. And flipping's great for like that capital, but flipping's not good for every market, right? But rentals, buy and hold rentals are good for every single market because in an upturn and in a downturn, people need somewhere to rent 100%. So we like to do the safer, slow growth route of buy the rental, we keep it in. The 5-year balloon gives us the ability to pivot in the worst case scenario where there's another pandemic or a downturn where I don't owe you your money back in a year. That's setting me and the lender up for failure, because if I can't pay you back, you have to foreclose on me. So I would like to have 3 years, 4 years to like correct course or have a plan B, plan C, plan D. Maybe I sell the property and I pay you back, but like the 5-year balloon just gives us extra protection in the circumstance of a downturn. And the last major crash in 2008, it took about 3 years to start coming around. So like the 5-year just gives us a lot of extra time.
So I want to unpack something just real quick, just for those of y'all that may be watching this that have no idea what she's talking about with the 5-year balloon. If you're looking at like a normal mortgage, that's a 30-year mortgage, what it does is it amortizes it over 30 years. So it takes how much you borrowed, it adds in the interest, and it divides it up amongst 360 payments. And then when you pay all 360 of those payments, at the end, it should be zero. What she's saying, and I'm assuming you'll have some amortization schedule along those lines where you stretch that out longer. Is it 30 years?
It's a 30-year AM, yeah.
So, okay, so we're going to say we borrow $100,000 at 5% over 30 years or whatever the numbers are, and so your payment's $1,000 a month, right? What she's saying is that 5-year balloon means, yes, I'm making these payments as if I was going to go the full 360, but as soon as we hit 5 years, whatever I owe you at 5 years, I will pay you in full. And you cannot demand payment prior to that 5 years. So it's really smart, because one of the things that I love in real estate is like, yeah, not every deal is a home run. And sometimes you lose some money on a deal. But with real estate, if you can hold the property long enough, you always look like a genius. You know what I mean? The trick is just not going bankrupt in that time period. Because if you have a bad deal or a bad downturn in the market or something, you if you can hold it long enough, you always look like a genius. If you can hold any property for 30 years, you look like a genius.
So quick side note too. Sorry, I forget that not everybody like understands maybe 100% of what I say. So thanks for clarifying, Colin.
Yeah.
So the 5 years, so keep in mind, like a lot of flippers will use hard money loans. They're very high interest, short term. Usually it's like 12% interest for like a 6 month to a year time frame in which you have to pay them back, because they are expecting you to take that money, put it in the property, put it on the market, sell it, and then they get paid back right away within a really short time frame. The reason we do the 5 years is just to give us the extra protection in case of a downturn. But our average turnaround time on paying back our money, private money lender, is 2 years is our average. We say we can have it, we technically can have it legally for 5 years without having to pay them back, but we typically will return their money within a 2-year time frame. And Colin, we just decided right now we're taking advantage of the market. That's always our game plan's always going to change as the market changes. But right now we wanted to capitalize on how great the market is as far as selling. So we've sold about 8 single family this year. We've got 2 to 3 left to sell this year. And we're starting to offload some of our multifamilies as well. But our plan is capitalize on how good the market is, sell some of these single family properties, collect the money, the profit. Like I said, we paid all of our credit cards off this year. I mean, that was thousands of dollars that we were able to pay back because we've been selling properties. So that's putting us in a good financial spot to like refinance and to start using corporations that can lend to us. And the other good thing too is it's paying back so like we'll sell a property and pay back our private money lenders like 150,000. They're literally going to get their check today, and then we're going to turn around and take their money back for the next deal. So it's like, yeah, I could wait 10 years to make $20,000 in cash flow on a property, or I could sell it today and make $20,000 in profit and then turn around and put my money back into the next thing. So this year we're selling like 8 single family, but we've bought 2 4-plexes, a 6-plex. We're about to close on a 4 acres of land with 5 rental units on it. And so our plan is really to start selling off the little small properties and really just rolling it all into the bigger properties. And we're also at that point of 1031 as well. So
we're going to 1031, guys, is a tax advantage where you can sell one property and not have to take the money out, and you put it back in, so you don't have to pay taxes on it, which is very helpful. But we'll do a whole nother video about that.
And we're almost to that point. We've always needed the money. Like we've always needed to, like when we've sold a property, it's like, cool, now we need to like pay down these bills or pay our CPA. The CPA bill is like never ending. And it's with all the LLCs we have on all of our properties, our CPA, I would say like taxes is our most expensive bill. And I feel like we're constantly sending them a couple $1,000s. And so we've always needed the money to live off of or pay bills down. And so now we're finally getting to that point where 1031ing is going to be an option, and we'll just start buying bigger.
Yeah. And that's 1031s tend to do that. And you tend to sell one small one and buy a bigger one, right? And that's what I've been seeing y'all doing. And that would make a lot of sense. So that way you can just leverage that extra money that would have gone to taxes into buying an even bigger one. And then one other thing that I personally have seen lately, because as I start holding more and more, and as I start looking at all this stuff, I really like to kind of try and take a step back and look at the macroeconomics of what's happening right now, and the inflation and the San Antonio market. I mean, it was a 19% year-over-year median house price increase in San Antonio. And guys, you find that information by paying attention to the emails that Sabor sends you. So don't just get in the habit of deleting them, actually read them. But yeah, there was a 19% increase in that. And so when we have these big property line increases, and I don't think we'll do another 19% next year, but I do think it'll be double digits, 10, 11, 12%. I mean, I think it'll be still pretty high, but it becomes harder and harder for these deals to cash flow. especially coming right out the gate if you're going to hold a property for a rental or something like that. So usually that first year is kind of a break even year. So it's really smart that you have that 5-year balloon, because if you can increase the rents, over a couple of years, especially if you're doing like an 8-plex or something like that, that little bit of an rent increase, drops that cap rate to where all of a sudden we're at a 6 cap on this thing, which, guys, I'll get into all that later, but because they value those things differently. An 8-plex is not, they don't use comps, because more than likely there's not another 8-plex in that neighborhood. They actually look at how much money it's making. So if you can raise rents by $100 per unit, you factor that in, all of a sudden you've added $80,000 to your valuation of that property because of the income it brings in. So that 4-plex I'm working on right now, I'm putting laundry rooms out back, and mine will be the only ones that have laundry rooms in it in that neighborhood. So I can charge more rent. Therefore, it's going to make my profit a lot higher, which will make the value of the property a lot higher. So it's kind of a nice thing to do. So we are starting to get to the witching hour. So when it comes to the brokerage side of things, when it comes to your agency, I know you have your broker's license, which you recently got. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so what do you do in your agency side? Like, how do you work that? How hard are you working it? And how does it benefit the intertwining of your investing?
If I'm going to be completely honest, like, I'm not working that hard in the agency side.
Yeah.
It's weird, but it's like falling in my lap. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe it's the energy I'm putting out there, but like, I seem to always have somebody who needs my assistance. A couple of months ago, Marco was like, start putting money into marketing, start farming, start paying for like leads. And I was just like, no, I don't want to. Like, I recently went to that Objectivist conference, Colin. And at that conference, there was it was just all just lectures. And I learned a lot about, I mean, there's a lot to still learn, but that weekend I just kind of realized, like, to be selfishly happy. And I started realizing like the team that I was building was not going down a direction of making me happy. It felt very like an obligation. And it's honestly, it was like, instead of building Hilco, which was very draining, our wholesale company, I was building basically another very draining team. So I decided to just like let everybody go. And for me, that was a really good choice because it's made me a lot happier. It's just, I don't know, taken a lot off my plate. And it's allowed me to focus on my own transactions versus like putting a lot of time and energy into mentoring. And weirdly enough, it's weird. As far as the agency stuff, it's just happening. Like, a lot of it's like old investors who've needed me to sell a property. Like the one I just posted recently that was for sale. I got, in 48 hours, I've probably had 60 showings and I've received over 10 offers. It's a madhouse right now. And I got that lead just because it's an older lady who was selling. Her son, weirdly enough, is an old Hilco employee or worker, and he has a couple of his own investment properties. And I recently sold his investment property like 3 months back, but that was super successful. So he referred me to his mom who needed help. And he's now a private money lender because he sold that investment property. And I knew he made like 70 grand on it. So we were like, he's going to be our next private money lender. And here he is. He's given us money for one of our deals. So basically, as far as the brokerage stuff, I don't really know. Because Marco and I know a lot of people and a lot of people know us, they just naturally gravitate and say, hey, can you help me buy a house, sell a house, buy an investment property? Like, I have one client who's I probably made over 20,000 on her commissions alone, because I bought her actually 2 houses. She's an investor here and she does Airbnb. So they're constantly looking for properties and I am their go-to agent. And so I know every time they buy or sell, I will be the person that they call, and I work my butt off for them. Like this last one, I almost lost and it almost blew up in my face because the guy was going to Baghdad and we needed a POA and it just was a freaking nightmare. I was like, you need to call me now. We're about to lose your like 8 grand earnest money, but we were able to make it happen. And long story short, I don't really know why or how I get leads.
I know. Yeah. I mean, you said it, and I'm going to read in between the lines, and I'm just going to say it a little bit more plainly. Hey, number one, networking. People know what you do, right?
True,
you talk to people, they are aware of what you do. That is just flat out networking. You don't have to go around and say, hey, do you have a house to sell? Just say, hey, yeah, I'm a realtor. I just did that. Just tell your story, have some fun with it. The other thing I wanted to point out, like you're kind of getting into that niche of investors as well, right? So you're getting those because you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing. and that helps you with that niche. So whatever your niche may be, like you can go get certified as a military specialist relocator. You can get certified as a luxury home person. You can get, find a niche, because if you try to be a catch-all for every, I mean, what is the old saying? You chase two rabbits, catch neither. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to do both of those. And it's funny because that's kind of how my same thing is now. I don't do a whole lot of marketing and lead capture and stuff like that when it comes to my agency side. I just work with people that I like and know, and you know what I mean? Yeah, I'll be happy to help you, right?
Right.
And it just, it makes the job a lot easier because they're not questioning your intent, your fiduciary, they don't think you're up to no good if it's just somebody you met on the street. You tend to have a working relationship already with those people. So it's kind of a nice way to go about doing it. Okay, so we've all,
just real quick, I'm also like, I've also become recently like really picky in who I work with as well. I've had a couple of people come to me and be like, I want to work with you. And I'm like, okay, we'll have a conversation. And then I just kind of realized like, this person's going to be way more difficult than I really want to deal with. And I'll just say no. Like I've also kind of realized like, it's not worth it to me to try and get every single lead that I can get, because I don't, like, at the end of the day, I still want my sanity and I still want time with my family. Like, yeah, I at the beginning of the year, I was like, I'm going to be top agent for Whiteline. And I was like determined, but somewhere recently that shifted for me. And I'm like, I don't really care. Cause again, like, I'm not really competing with anybody but myself. Like I don't care what anyone else is doing. I'm going to 100% support everybody else and say, congrats. Like, I know Priscilla, you're on here. Priscilla's killing it. I can't tell you how much money I've already made off of her, because I referred her to join Whiteline, and she's been killing it. She's been like killing it. Like I keep getting money in the mail from Brittany, and I'm like, oh, another 200. Okay, cool. Like I'll probably have to tally up at the end of the year. And like it, there's other agents out there doing it. I don't care to be top. Like I'm sure Cameron's gonna win that one. Maybe next year I'll win when we close that assignment fee on the 30 unit, but it's just kind of like, I'm just trying to stay in my lane and focus. Like there's amazing people out there. There's going to be better agents than me, better brokers, better investors. But my goal is just to continue to like learn and like plug the holes of the things that I don't know. Cause like I said, Marco and I do it as a team, and there's a lot of things I do that he doesn't do. But there's a lot of things that he does that I'm like, I tell him all the time, I say like, don't die on me, because if you die on me, like there are certain things that I just feel like he's better at. And he's like, babe, you're good. Like, you know a lot more than a lot of people and you'll be fine. And I'm like, no, like I need your help. Don't die. Like, anyway, that's just my little 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I love it, guys. And what, for those of y'all that do want to get into the investor niche, go back and watch the videos where we talk about investing. Even if you're not ready to talk about investing, go back and learn about it. You know what I mean? Because it's just going to help you during the conversation. It's going to help you explain what people are looking for, why they're thinking the way they are. I'm trying to touch as many different kinds of investing, because I've been fortunate enough where I've gotten into a lot of them. I've done owner finance, the wholesaling, rentals, flips, whatever it is. And so when you find that person, if you watch these videos, guys, go back and watch these videos. So now that we're at the witching hour, I got about 5 minutes where I promised I'd let you go. Anybody on here have any questions they want to ask, or any clarifying for Hillary while we're here? We had a couple of people just bounce a minute ago, which I know, because I know we're getting close to the time, but.
I just want to say, Hillary, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, I just want to say, can you do an entire, another one of these about how to get your spouse to love real estate as much as you do?
Honestly,
because I want a tandem team like that. And no, my wife's like, what are you doing? Okay, cool. Bye.
yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I think when I first met Marco, I just was really on board with, like, he had such a vision, and I was like, okay, well, I literally had to put everything into his hands, and I put all the faith in there. And I was just like, if we're going to do this, then you have to, like, I was like, don't fail us, because we have a family, and what's weird is like I've actually really grown to love it. Like I realized my confidence has grown over the years, and I realized like I'm actually really good at this, and so that helps. I don't know if that it's for everyone, but I also think it depends too. Like Marco and I don't know Ryan if you know my husband, but Marco and I are very.
Yeah, I know. I don't know you yet, but we're gonna go all have lunch one day.
We'll be at the Whiteline party on Sunday. But anyway,
cool.
Yeah, we just work really well together, and it's weird. Like, I mean, now 7 years later, I actually realized recently, I was like, we are never apart. And I was telling Marco, I was like, I need to plan a girls trip or like do my own solo trip somewhere because like I never really get to miss him, which, you know, we work so well together that it doesn't really matter. But like, I'm thinking like, I kind of want to miss him a little bit. Like I
Well,
should.
hey, turnabout's fair play. Ryan, you in? We're gonna have a boys trip. Me,
Yeah,
Ryan,
but,
we'll get
like,
it. We'll
yeah,
100%.
disappear. We'll
whatever.
go get in trouble somewhere.
That's how
But
that
I
works.
mean, as far as I feel like, I don't know, it's weird. It's just like I just was always on board with his vision and I was committed to doing whatever I had to do to help him get to where we are. And like I said, I've learned over the years of just what my own learning has built my confidence. And honestly, to be completely frank and transparent, it wasn't until the beginning of last year where I really started to feel confident in real estate. A lot of it was like because I've had two pregnancies and two babies since we started this process. And even though I was 100% working with Marco, I was really behind the scenes. Like he was always on Facebook and TikTok and like posting videos. So like when you think of Hilco, you automatically would think of Marco. There are so many times where people would be like, "Oh, how's Hilco, Marco?" And I'm like, "Hello, like I'm not like
I'm the
I do
hill.
this and like I've always been in it. Even like I would give birth to a kid and like the next day I would be working." But people just never saw me because I wasn't the one on the videos. I liked to be behind the scenes. And part of that was probably because of my confidence. But like I said, since then it's kind of come out. And honestly, with Marco stepping out of the limelight a little bit, it's allowed me to step into the limelight. And he's been really good at supporting me and what I've been wanting to do. So honestly, I don't know. We just make a really good team. We
Well,
do.
and I mean, we were talking about this before we started recording it. You know, it's just a lot of communication, right?
Yeah.
My wife, you know, since I've been doing this, you know, she's been working on her master's for the last 2 years. She's been, you know, she just changed jobs, so she's kind of, you know, in the weeds trying to figure out what's going on with all this stuff, and so she doesn't have a whole lot of time to come and see what it is that I'm doing. But I know she knows what's going on, and last night for the first time, you know, she not for the first time, but for first time in a while since all this since her job change, you know, she was knee deep in it with me, trying to help me find the person to help me with my systems and processes because I know she's good at it. So I was like, hey, I need you at least to look at these resumes with me. So yeah, like I said, I'm it's communication, right? Just get out there with them and talk to them, and you know, get them to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah, that was the first book I read, and it's such a quick read that it's pretty self-explanatory when you read it. I definitely recommend that to everybody. And the other thing I did want to mention too is just like for us right now, because there's the element of investing, wholesaling, and agency, we do all three. That I'm not like out there looking for the next retail deal or the next wholesale. It's like we find whatever deal comes to us, however we can negotiate a deal to happen. And then we say, okay, is it one that we're going to buy? Like, do we have the capital to buy this property? Is it one that we even want in our portfolio? Is it like a good property we want to take on? Because not every property that comes our way is one we want to even put in the portfolio. So if we don't want it, or we don't have the funds to raise, or we can't raise the funds for it, like the 30 unit, Colin, like we wanted to keep it, but we knew raising the funds was going to be very complicated. And a lot of our lenders are already tied into our current deals. So it's like, okay, well, if we can't buy it, then let's wholesale it. We know we can wholesale it and we can do that. Or do I have one of my investor clients, can one of my investor clients buy it and I can be an agent? So it's like, I don't care what deal it is, bring it to us and we will figure out how to make money on it. Like
that's exactly how I feel too. And I tell everybody that I know in my networking circles, I was like, just call me. If there's a house, somebody like, just call me. I will tell you what to do with it. I'll put it in the MLS. I'll buy it. I'll move it for you. I'll figure something out. Yeah.
exactly. So,
Well, Hillary, you were awesome as usual. I know you have to go. I wanted to be respectful of your time.
I'm okay for a little bit. If there's anyone else that has questions, I don't have to
Right.
leave right away, but yeah, if no one else does, then that's fine.
No. All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Hillary. I'm going to record this. I'm going to save this. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to put it up in the on the old YouTube channel. So everybody make sure you do that. And
yeah. And Marco and I will be there on Sunday at the White Line Party. We're excited about it. It was fun last year. So we're excited about seeing everybody again and meeting people we haven't met yet and just having a good time.
I'm really pumped about it because, you know, I sent out that Evite for it. And so we've been collecting it. We're going to have twice as many people there, which is going to be really awesome. Because of that, we've had to pare a few things down. We can't quite do all the things we did last time, but it is going to be exciting to kind of get to see everybody. And I know there's a lot of agents I haven't met face to face yet. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
There's a ton of new agents that I have no idea who they are. So it'll be exciting.
Well, don't worry. I'm sure we'll give you a microphone and let you do.
Oh, I'm good. We'll let you do
All
the
right.
talking.
Well, have fun in Oklahoma.
Oh, thanks. Well, yeah, that'll be uneventful, but good, I guess.
Oh, I-35 is always eventful. All right. Thank you, Hillary.
Bye. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.